Okay, let me start the analysis part of educational exemption. Education is the fundamental to nation's building process. The term education is not defined in CGST Act 2017, but as per Apex Court decision in Lok Shikshana Trust versus CIT, education is the process of training and developing knowledge, skill, character of a student by normal schooling. Okay, all this is for your knowledge purpose now. Okay, taxing the education sector has always been a sensitive issue as education is seen more as a social activity than a business one. The government has constitutional obligation to provide free and compulsory elementary education to every child. Thus, to promote education, it would be beneficial if education services are exempted from tax. This whole is giving you background why education services should remain exempt. However, commercialization of education is also a reality. Now you know that education has become very costly affair. There was a time when I used to get or we have got a basic education for free of cost. Now if you take a junior KG or senior KG admission in Mumbai in a very good school, it is going to cost you at least in lakhs, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees is the cost for getting primary and basic education in school, and therefore they don't want to exempt everything. They wanted to exempt, but they also wanted to tax certain activities conducted by this educational institution or private educational institution. Let's look at this. The distinction between core and ancillary education is blurring, and education is now organized industry with huge revenues. Okay, the GST law tries to maintain fine balance whereby core educational services provided and registered by education institutions are exempted and other services are sought to be taxed. Exemption from GST granted wide entry number 66 above stated can be discussed under two broad categories: education related to output services and education related to input services. Output means education by institution and input means education services to education institution. Okay, so let's now talk about output services, facilities given or services given by education institution. Services provided by an education institution to its student, faculty, staff, and by way of conduct of examination against consideration in form of entrance fee are exempted from GST. This is what we have understood in BEAR Act. Since exemptions with respect to said services is available only with these services are provided by education institution, it is important to analyze the term education institution first. So what do you mean by education institution? What is the definition of education institution? Education institution means a definition given, that means exhaustive definition. An institution providing services by way of preschool education and education up to higher and secondary school or equivalent. Why they are saying equivalent? Because in Kerala, in Karnataka, they don't call HSC, they call plus 2. Whatever it is, up to 12th standard or up to plus 2 level or up to HSC level, that institution will be called as education institution, and because it is a part of education institution, it will be remain exempt. Next, education as a part of curriculum for obtaining qualification recognized by law for time being enforced. So what about Mumbai University? What about Mahatma Gandhi University? What about Karnataka, like some universities in Karnataka? What about your CA Institute? What about CS Institute, CMA Institute? Can you please tell me whether this education is recognized by law? The degree from CA CMA Institute is recognized by law in India. Is it legal education? Hello. Your degree from Mumbai University is recognized by law. Your degree from CSCM Institute is recognized by law. Yes or no? Is it recognized by law? Yes. Obviously, yes, your answer has to be yes, because you become chartered accountant under Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Similarly, you become cost accountant under Cost Accountants Act. Similarly, you become company secretary under Company Secretaries Act, and you become graduate or postgraduate or masters. You obtain master's degree from Mumbai University or other universities in India, which is duly recognized by laws in India. But what if, as a private coaching institution, we conduct some examination, and you qualify our examination, will you have legally recognized degree? Come on, tell me. Tomorrow, if Raj class is conducting some examination and you pass examination from Raj class, will that be recognized by law? Answer is no. Therefore, private coaching classes or private coaching institutions are not part of education institution. Only those institutions which are which are providing education which is legally recognized in India can be exempted here. And next, education as a part of vocation education. I hope you have heard about ITI. ITI. Have you heard about ITI? Carpenting course or plumbing course or painting course or mobile repairing, AC repairing, wireman. Have you heard about these courses? Which is known as education, vocational education. I guess it is there. IT is there somewhere in Dadar, I guess. Are you aware that these are also educational courses, vocational courses? Where I am located now in this rural area, after 10 standards, students don't go to college, they go to ITI because they get short job and they are interested in job. And majority of them are also having high demand from Gulf countries or global sources, because these people work at very laborer level. No, this wiring job or plumbing job or carpentering job is kind of laborer job, and many foreign countries demand this kind of laborers from India. Okay. So approved, this has to be approved. It cannot be a private coaching classes. It has to be approved. Let's look at all these parameters one by one. It is to be noted that only those institutions whose operations conform to the specifics given in the definition of education institution would be treated as the one entitled to avail exemption. That's okay, that we know. Now, subclause 2, education as a part of curriculum for obtaining qualification recognized by law. We are going to discuss that in detail. Means education delivered as a part of curriculum that has been prescribed for obtaining qualification by prescribed law. Thus, in order to be covered under entry number 66, the education services should be delivered as a part of curriculum. In view of the same, it can be converted. So it is more detailed now here. Conduct of degree courses by colleges and universities. Come on, tell me, exempt or taxable? Conduct of degree courses by college or universities, taxable or exempt? You just write T or E. No need to write full word. Write down, taxable or exempt? Please respond. Your college fee or university fee, whenever you have registered yourself as a college student, have you paid a GST? Is it taxable service or exempt service? Education provided by your college or university. Please reply. Yes, it is exempt. It is exempt. Okay. Training given by private coaching institution, taxable or exempt? Private coaching, taxable. Why? Because such training does not lead to grant a qualification which is recognized by law. Next, education as a part of curriculum for obtaining qualification recognized by law, but in foreign country. It is not recognized in India. It is recognized. You are getting CPA certificate. CPA is a USA qualification. So it is taxable or exempt? Come on, please tell me. It is recognized, but not in India. It is recognized in USA. Okay. Only a course which is recognized by Indian law is covered here. Okay. So if you get foreign education, that's not a part of curriculum. Next, subclause 3 covers institution providing services by way of vocational educational course. So what is vocational educational course? Vocational educational course is a course, if you do that, you get a job for sure. This is focus on skills. This is not focus on education. ITI courses or vocational courses are focused on skill. And if you have heard the recent slogan of Government of India, they are no more focusing on educating India, they are more focusing on skill India. Because you and me are educated one, but we don't know how to do the basic things, how to do basic wiring, how to do basic plumbing, how to do basic carpenting work. Right now, because the furniture operations are going on in whole building where I'm taking this lecture, I'm learning various aspects of this, this technical works. And I realize somehow I'm qualified, but I don't know the technical aspect of this particular area. And people who are doing this, they are not qualified, but they know how to do it. And that's what is required in India as of now. Government is encouraging a lot of vocational courses because they wanted to build a skillful India. But it has to be approved one. If it is a private one, it is taxable. So let's look at this. A course run by ITI or ITC affiliated to National Council for Vocational Training, NCVT. This abbreviation you need to keep in mind. Very important word. Approved by whom? Approved by National Council for Vocational Training. Or if it is central, then it will be National Council for Vocational Training. Or if it is state-run institution, the State Council for Vocational Training. So either it has to be approved by NCVT or it has to be approved by SCVT, offering courses in designated trade notification under the Apprentice Act 1961. Now, although we don't have Apprentice Act in our syllabus, but let's look at what type of activities are covered under Apprentice Act. What is the full form of ITI? ITI means Industrial Training Institute, okay, and ITC means Industrial Training Center. And some of the courses which are approved by Apprenticeship Act 1961 are given here: electrician, wireman, carpenter, plumber, mention, mechanic, tool, die maker, baker, confectioner, weaver, tailor, footwear maker, photographer, beautician, painter, desktop publishing operator, gardener, cable television operator, library assistant, etc. So all these activities are covered under this ITI. Okay. You can see this is not education, but these are the skillful activities, and government wanted to exempt even this particular activities. Next, modular employer skill course. Now this is something new version of ITI that government is launching. Modular employable skill course approved by NCVT, run by a recognized person with the Director General of Training, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Modular employable skill is the minimum skill set which is sufficient for gainful employment or self-employment in the world of work. This scheme provides certification on vocation training from NCVT that is nationally and internationally recognized in the world of work in government, central as well as state, as well as private sector. It provides employable skill to early school dropouts. Okay, so if you don't want to continue it, see, everybody cannot be cost accountant, everybody cannot be a chartered accountant, everybody cannot be a doctor or engineer. There are some people who are not interested into basic school education, but they are very good in something else. Now government is promoting that something else as well. Okay, it provides employable skill to early school dropouts, existing workers seeking skill upgradation, workers seeking certification of their skills acquired informally, ITI graduates, etc., to improve their employability and provide certification after completion of the course. So many people know how to do plumbing work. Many people how to know how to handle the carpentering work, how to develop a furniture. But they don't have any certificate from any recognized body. Now government is creating this particular modular employable skill course, which is Skill India mission, and under that mission, these people will have certificate. If they show the certificate, then their employability gets increased. In view of above definition, some of the institutions providing educational services has been examined as under. So they are giving you some examples here. Private ITI. Okay. Private ITI qualify as the education institution if the education provided by this ITI is approved by vocational educational course defined above. That means they need a certification from NCVT or SCVT. Okay. It implies that services provided by private ITI only in respect of designated trade notification under Apprenticeship Act 1961 are exempt from GST under entry number 66, and services other than designated trades are liable to GST. Private ITI can provide approved course as well as unapproved course. If they are providing approved course, it will remain exempt. If they are providing unapproved course, it will be taxable. Next, government ITI. Obviously, government ITI is going to provide only approved course. As far as government ITIs are concerned, services provided by government ITI to individual trainees or students are exempt under entry number 6. Entry number 6 provides exemption to government services that we will discuss later on. These are in nature of services provided by central government or state government to individuals. Okay, so that we will discuss later on. Such exemption in relation to services provided by government ITI would cover both vocational training as well as examination conducted by this government ITI. So you don't have to cover government ITI in entry number 66 because entry number 6 already exempt certain government services. So they are saying that it will be covered in that exemption entry. You don't have to travel to 66 unnecessarily. Okay. As regard the services provided to private ITI, only services relating to admission or conduct of examination by private ITI in respect of such designated trades are exempt. All other services provided to such institution shall be liable to GST. Why? Because it doesn't provide education up to HSC, and you know that any services provided to educational institution, occasional course or online periodical journals. So this is not HSC. ITI starts. It is not preschool. It is also what do you say? Transportation, catering, and housekeeping. I should write, or security or housekeeping. Okay, and online periodicals. These 4 items are not applicable to ITI. Why? Because it was excluded from there. It was only applicable to HSC or primary school. And if you know the point number 4, which is conduct of examination, is applicable to whole building, I told you, including ITI. It is important to note that central and state boards shall be treated as the education institution. So the central board means CBSE and state board means HSC board, that is we have in Maharashtra, for the limited purpose for providing services by way of conduct of examination. Obviously, their services only for conduct of examination shall remain exempt. So what about unrecognized educational institution? In India, we are having many unrecognized educational. What about them? Private coaching centers and other organized institutions, though self-styled educational institution, would not be treated as an education institution and therefore cannot avail the exemption. And because they cannot avail the exemption, it is liable for GST. Education institution up to HSC. So what about them? So let's look at this. By virtue of entry number 66, education institution up to higher secondary school level do not suffer GST on output services and also on most important input services. So they don't have to pay tax on inputs as well as output. However, some of the input services like canteen, repair and maintenance, telecommunication, audit, renting of building, any other services, etc., provided by private players to education institution are subject to GST. Output services of lodging and boarding in hostel provided by such educational institution are provided as a preschool education or education up to HSC school or equivalent education leading to qualification recognized by law are fully exempt because this is the natural bundle. Hostel services are natural bundle. Many institutions in Kerala, if you are having Navodaya is present in many places. If you are having Navodaya school, then you might be knowing Navodaya not only provide education, it also provide many other services. They also provide sport equipments, shoes, uniform, food, stay facility. Everything is free in this central government funded school. Now that's a bundle service, and whenever we say bundle service, section 8A will apply, and we will call it as a composite supply. And in composite supply, we charge tax rate of dominant supply, and dominant supply here is principal supply. Principal supply is education, because education itself is exempt. Any other ancillary and related activities will also remain exempt. Annual subscription fee charge as a lodging and boarding charges by institution from student for hostel accommodation shall therefore not attract GST. Okay, because there is a composite supply. So there are certain boarding school. Boarding school provide services of education coupled with other services like providing dwelling units for residence and food. So that dwelling units means they provide stay facility. This may be a case of composite supply. They are saying maybe because we have to check on case to case basis. This is what I told you. Mixed supply or composite supply has to be dealt on case basis, because every time the situation may differ. Okay. If charges for education and lodging and boarding are is inseparable, okay, then it will be composite supply. The taxability will be determined in terms of principles laid down in section 230 or read with section 8 of CGST that I told you, mixed supply or composite supply. Such services are, in case boarding school, are naturally bundled. This language you need to know, and supplied with ordinary course of business. Therefore, bundle of service will be treated to consist entirely of principal supply, which means service will form predominant element of such bundle. And predominant element here in boarding school is obviously education. It was not food, it was not stay facility. The predominant service is education. Next. In this case, since the predominant nature is determined by the service of education, the other services for providing residential dwelling will not consider for the purpose of determining the tax liability. Entire consideration shall be exempt. Okay. Sir, education institution providing qualification recognized by law. So CA, CS, CMA, BCom, BA, BSc, all those. Any education which is recognized by law in India after 12th standard will be covered here. We have already seen that institution providing services by way of education as a part of curriculum for obtaining qualification recognized by law for the timing in force qualify as an institution. However, the question arises that in case where the course in college leads to a dual qualification. Now you might have heard about BAF and BMS. BAF BMS, it is little different than your BCom. BCom provides you simple graduation, but in BAF or BMS, Bachelor in Accounts and Finance and Bachelor of what you say, management studies, right? Bachelor of Management Studies, BMS, kind of, okay. So where you get extra qualification, dual qualification. Not only that, sometimes you get BCom plus singing certificate. Sometimes you get BCom plus sports certificate. So what is happening in nowadays, instead of providing a single qualification, many institutions have started providing dual qualification, okay, which is, and only one of them is recognized by law in India. Now education institution is taking fee for both. I'll tell you about one college here in rural area. What they are doing here, they're conducting BCom examination. The college is running BCom, but with BCom they wanted to advertise their college for providing CA coaching. They have approached us also that we will provide you BCom plus CA coaching. Now they can't conduct CA course, but they are providing CA coaching, and they know because they are a college faculty, they can't provide CA coaching. So they have approached institution like us. They are asking us to get tie-up with the institution, this particular college. They will provide us everything. They will give us student, benches, infrastructure, classroom, everything. We just have to go there, and once the college is over by 11:30, from 12 to 5, we have to conduct CA coaching classes there. This is the offer, but because we are not comfortable with certain terms put up by them, we are not going ahead with the offer. But this kind of offer is provided by them. Okay. So now you tell me, if this institution is charging 40,000 fee, this college is charging 40,000 fee, 8,000 for BCom and 32,000 for CA foundation. Okay. Now this is the dual qualification that they are providing, and only one of them is recognized by law. This 32,000 is not recognized by law because it is just a coaching fee. They are charging separately. So what about this? So they wanted to say, let's separate this, or if you cannot separate this, then it will become a situation of mixed supply. And situation of mixed supply means you need to understand, mixed supply means government going to check which one attracts higher or highest tax liability. So in that case, the highest tax liability will be on this side. Therefore, whole 40,000, if you don't charge it separately, the whole 40,000 will become taxable. Let's look at this. Provision of dual qualification is in the nature of two separate services, as curriculum and fees for each such qualification are prescribed separately. Usually it should be separate. Services in respect of each qualification would therefore be assessed separately. It has to be assessed separately. If artificial bundle, not natural bundle, if artificial bundle of service is created by clubbing two courses together, when only one single fee is charged for both. Now the intention of assess is to evade taxes. Okay. Only one of which leads to qualification recognized by law. Then by application of rule of determining taxability of supply which is not bundled in ordinary course of business, it shall be treated as mixed supply. It shall be treated as mixed supply. Mixed supply means section 8 will apply. Section 8B will apply, which attracts highest rate of GST. Okay, which attracts highest rate of GST. Now they are putting some extra provision here. However, incidental auxiliary courses provided by hobby classes or extracurricular activity in furtherance of overall well-being of students will be example of natural bundle and therefore treated as a composite supply. So sometimes what happens in schools as of now or in colleges as of now, they are also providing computer education or they are providing sport education. Now this is not a dedicated education provided by them. This is just an add-on certification or add-on skill set which is provided by this school. Okay, so we don't have to tax that separately. One relevant consideration in such cases will be the amount of extra billing being done for unrecognized component vis-a-vis the recognized course. If extra billing is done, it may be a case of artificial bundle. If you're charging extra fees for providing computer education or sport education, then it will become artificial bundle. But if you have seen in school and colleges, usually they don't charge anything separately for providing this computer skills or extra sport activity education. Okay. Not supplied together in the ordinary course of business, therefore it will be treated as a mixed supply, attracting the rate of GST on entire consideration. Okay. Now there is a note on IIM. Earlier IIM was exempt separately. Now because courses from IIM, Indian Institute of Management, from where you get MBA degree, and please let me tell you one thing, MBA means in India, MBA from IIM. Please understand there are many institutions smaller. Then IIMs which are open in Mumbai or any city in any part of the country, majority of them are providing MBA courses, online MBA, part-time MBA, this MBA, that MBA, MBA in 20,000, MBA in 40,000, MBA in 6 months. Now all those MBAs are useless courses. If you wanted to talk about MBA, it has to be from IIM. Now IIM also provide two different types of courses. One of the courses provided by IIM, which is exclusively designed for CAs, okay, they provide somewhere around 5 days course. Okay, 5 days management course for CA, qualified chartered accountants, and the fees is around 1.5 lakh. Okay, plus GST. The fees is around 1.5 lakh plus GST. What I'm trying to say, for CA, for chartered accountant, IIM have designed, okay, IIM have designed a dedicated course of 5 days. And if I go there to attend this 5 days course, I have to pay not only 1.5 lakh for 5 days course, but I have to pay GST. That means This type of courses provided by IIM is taxable because they are charging GST. This type of courses are provided by IIM are taxable. But MBA course which is Management of Business Administration, okay, MBA courses provided by IIM should remain exempt because it is recognized by law in India. MBA provided by IIM only are recognized by law in India. Therefore, let's look at the handwritten notes first of all. We'll understand better here. This is the note on IIM. Only long-term courses means the duration of courses should be 1 year or more, and it should be in the nature of diploma or degree. That is fully exempt from IIM. But if IIM is providing you short-term or executive courses, which is less than a year, which are in which you don't get degree, you just get participation certificate, those services will be taxable. So if tomorrow ICICI Bank conducts three month induction program for newly hired employees of this year, so 100 employees are sent by ICICI Bank to one of the IIM, maybe IIM Ahmedabad, okay, for 3 month course, and the money will be paid by ICICI Bank, then that is taxable. But if you choose to pass CAT examination, okay, common aptitude test, which is conducted across India, and if you pass CAT examination and if you are pursuing MBA from IIM, then definitely this is exempt because you are pursuing diploma or degree which is well recognized by law in India. So let's look at the IIM explanation here. With effect from this date, Indian Institute of Management come into force. The Act empowers IIM to grant degree, diploma, and other academic titles, specify the criteria, process for admission to the courses or program of study, specify the academic content or program. Resultantly, all IIMs are now educational institution because of after passing this particular act, they became education institution, and because they are educational institution which is recognized by law, so it is going to be exempt. IIM provide various long-term duration program, usually 1 year or more, for which they award diploma or degree certificate duly recommended by Board of Governors as per the power vested in them under IIM Act 2017. Therefore, it is clarified that services provided by Indian Institute of Management to their student in all such long-term duration are exempt from levy of GST. IIM also provide various short-term programs, usually less than 1 year, for which they provide participation certificate to the executive and professional as they are considered as participant of the said programs. These participation certificates are not any qualification recognized by law. Such participants are also not considered as students of IIM. Services provided by IIM as the educational institution to such participants is not exempt from GST, and therefore 18% GST will be leviable on this activity. Okay, next. In another 3-4 minutes, this will log out. Please log in immediately. I have to discuss some question from CMA module. Okay, the theory is going to be over in this lecture itself, but little more questions from CMA module I have to discuss. So whenever it is logged out, please log in immediately. Okay, without taking time, just log in immediately. Supply of food or mess or canteen. Look at this. Education institutions generally have mess facility for providing food to their student and staff. Such facility either run by institution or by the outsourced to the third person. If the catering service is one of the service provided by education institution to student, faculty, staff, and the said education institution is covered by the definition, then the same will be exempt because it will be considered as a bundle supply. If catering services, that is supply of food or drink or mess in canteen provided by anyone other than education institution, that is the institution has outsourced the catering services to contractor, then it is a supply of service to concerned education institution, which is by such outside caterer and attract the GST. Obviously, note it may be noted that such service when provided to education institution up to HSC is exempt. So private contractor to education institution which is up to HSC shall remain exempt. Degree college, CA institute, CM institute, IIM will be taxable. Fee charge from prospective employees. Education institutions such as IITs, IIM charge some fee from prospective employers like corporate houses and MNC who came to institute for recruiting candidates. Now what happens? ICICI Bank, IDBI Bank, Deutsche Bank, okay, or these investment banks, this insurance company, Bharti AXA and all, they come to CA Institute, CM Institute for conducting your interviews, campus interviews, and it is not free. They have to pay certain fees. That fees is taxable, okay, because it's not an education service. Campus interviews are not education services, therefore it is liable to tax. Next. Regarding input services, it may be noted that output services shall be exempt. Educational institution may not be able to avail the credit. This is what I have already told you. Many inputs are free from GST application. However, the state exemption comes with a rider. Auxiliary services of transportation, catering, security, and all these are already exempt from tax. Similarly, online educational journal provided exempt only if they are provided to an institution providing services by way of education as a part of curriculum, obtaining qualification recognized by law for time being in force. That means after HSC. Online periodical is exempt after HSC. I have already created a table. They have created this particular table. Here they are telling you which is exempt and which is not exempt. Okay. So you can see up to higher and secondary school 1, 2, 3, 4 is applicable. That means 5 is missing. Okay. Recognized by law means higher education. Here examination is common and educational journals are there, and for vocational course only conduct of examination is exempt. So you just go through the table. That's all about the theory part of this education examination, education institution concerned to your examination. Practical question we are going to do immediately from CMA module. Please join at 12:45 within 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, please rejoin.